Hello ladies and gentlemen, as we're heading to 3.4, I kinda want to talk about something that's been kind of controversial and discussed in the community for quite a bit, and it's interesting enough for me to put my 2 cents over it, if I release this video in time. This video was released way too late. I should have made this like 2 weeks ago, but I had a full script, might as well go with it, right? No other preamble here, let's get into the video. So, the Fate collab is coming and we get a couple of stuff from it. The main one for this video is a free limited 5-star by the name of Archer. If you want a more in-depth review of Archer's kit, I made a video about it and you should watch that first. The only thing you need to know is that he's one of the top damage dealers on release, especially in single target, due to his kit being very mechanically strong against certain enemies with the numbers to match it. Giving it all for free is a very big surprise, but knowing collab characters don't rerun, it makes perfect sense, since even Genshin units from their own IP in Honkai Impact 3 didn't get anything. But who knows? With Archer's release, we also get a pulling event along with it. Add 200 pulls on any limited banner until the end of 3.4, which is basically one patch. Archer's LC is given for free. Wow, so I just need to spend 200 pulls and I get a free LC. That's kinda good. Predatory. Yeah, that's the discussion right now. I didn't even think this was predatory because this happens so commonly in real life, and it's kind of interesting that people were complaining about it, but we'll get into that in more detail later. It reminds me a lot of the Castrus Global Passive Dilemma, which you can watch my coverage on to get my opinion on it, but I think there's key differences to that entire debacle. But before we get into that argument, I do want to analyze the return on investment you can make with this system. So, is the LC that's given for free for 200 pulls even worth those amount of pulls? Let's talk about the price. I don't think it needs to be said that 200 pulls is not worth anything unless it's like an S5 Dance 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 Light Cone, and even that's a stretch. A lot of the problem people have with it is the 200 pull price tag and the duration of the event. The thing is, 3.4 only gives less than 100 pulls, so you can't even get half of it. It's clearly not a thing you will be getting if you didn't start skipping for the Fate collab for 1 to 2 patches. The main benefactors of this system, therefore, are people that saved for Fate at least 1 to 2 patches in advance, new players who have a large backlog of resources and heard about the Fate collab through the grapevine, and of course a pretty decent bar of spenders that buy a supply pass every month, or they'll just dwell on it when the banner comes eventually. Just as a reminder, losing a 50-50 means you can get up to 160 pulls spent. So to get Archer's LC, you need to get 2 5 stars first, and then 40 more pulls, assuming unluckiest scenario possible. This, by definition, induces FOMO, the fear of missing out. That's what it stands for. Some people, especially those vulnerable to something like buying more than they need at a grocery store just to get a coupon, is being taken advantage of. And I use that analogy because it is almost the same thing. Starrail is very much doing the same store tactic of a buy 3 take 1 approach that happens a lot in daily life. The reason why every country on earth doesn't consider this thing predatory is because we know the base 3 products is still less than the buy 3 take 1 approach. Nobody is really forcing you to buy 3, and you can still get only 1 or 2 or even none at all and be happy with your life. But even if you don't have a need for 4 of a product, you'll take 3 just because it feels like you're getting more. This leads to you buying 4 of a product you never needed more of in the first place. If you consider these store tactics as predatory, then it very much is the same thing to this Archer LC discount in Starrail. Each person has different thresholds to where someone can consider something predatory, and if it goes any further, something predatory can be anti-consumer. If you were to ask me, it definitely is taking advantage and inducing FOMO, but calling it predatory is way too far, especially when it still is objectively a freebie when it otherwise wouldn't be. And if you're gonna make the argument that it's anti-consumer, I really don't want to hear it. I'm not going to force you into believing it isn't FOMO or anything, because it is. FOMO of this type is everywhere, down to the color palette of a product and the aisle it is placed where consumers would wander more to. The degree of this FOMO of a buy 3 take 1 is considerably low on that scale, since it isn't a strict negative for the customer and actually helps them if they were already buying the designated spending threshold in the first place. I apologize for getting pseudo-intellectual there, but the main point is, this is a tactic that does exploit the FOMO within people, but it isn't outright a negative to customers and cannot really be considered predatory if you're still getting more than the base price. If you want to argue about it, go to your local grocery store promos and discuss it with a manager. After that discussion about the price, let's discuss the reward. Actually, I may not need to talk to you about the reward at all and how good it is. I want you to ponder this question for a while. Would it be more or less predatory if Archer's LC was broken or bad? If you win a Honda Civic for 3 cans of meatloaf, or you win an ugly t-shirt, which one of these would be considered more predatory? If the coupon didn't exist at all, is it somehow less predatory? Do you see my point? If you have the Honda Civic, then it cannot be considered predatory since the reward is incredibly in the favor of the customer. If it was an ugly t-shirt, then it can't be predatory because the pool of people that would buy just for an ugly t-shirt when they otherwise wouldn't have would be an incredibly smaller set of people and the promo might as well not exist. The answer lies somewhere in the middle. The 3 cans will give you a 4th can that is slightly better than the 3 cans. Archer's LC is really mid. It's not generic enough to give all of its passives to every character. It has no utility, and the damage boost provided by it is nearly 1-to-1 with a free LC that most of the player base already has. It is not worth it at all. If you knew about the free hunt LC that is similar to this, you would instantly know it's not worth it at all. But even if you didn't know this, why would it be considered predatory for you to get the Honda Civic instead of an ugly shirt? I guess the argument comes from the LC looking like a Honda Civic, but that doesn't make sense, since if it was broken, it's even more in favor to the customer. This is literally just arguing about the ethics of buy one take ones. There's been centuries of discussions about this. The only real problem is people not knowing how valuable Archer's LC is and thinking it's a Honda Civic. And because of this, it's more productive to gauge it as it is, being a mid LC, than gassing it up as predatory because that would get the impression that it's broken. If Archer's LC was bad, then the conversation would be Hoyo not giving you the bang for your buck with an ugly t-shirt, while somehow claiming that it is predatory at the same time because they gave something for free. This is really illogical hatred. I want to talk about the similarities of this case with the Castor's global passive drama. One thing that was the crux of my argument was the global passive either being too rare and weak that it doesn't do anything, meaning there really is no reason to add it. Or progressively it gets better and setting an awful precedent for the balancing in Star Rail. HSR thankfully took the first one, it seems, even though not existing at all would have been better for the game. The precedence of this buy 3 take 1 promo is logically they'll start doing this maybe every 2 patches for like the quote-unquote worst case scenario. Okay, let's not entertain this as something that's gonna be realistically happening, but let's say they did. The thing about the global passive is whether you pulled a character or not, the endgame balancing being bended because of it will take effect if you play endgame. And at some point, endgame becomes even more unbearable roster checks if global passives became widespread. If this pulling event became widespread, then what exactly was worse from when it wasn't in the game? Endgame doesn't get harder because of this pulling event. If they balance LCs around being free, then that would be more pro-customer since signatures would be worse and have free alternative. The worst case scenario of free LCs being a thing is that Star Rail will start balancing the total pull income every patch to deduct the promo pulls needed as sort of an artificial shortage. This patch being 90 pulls is not an oddity and falls in line with other patches, so that can't be true. If in the future they drop to 60 pulls in one patch, then it would be kind of alarming. I would say that with Hoyo anything slimy is possible, but even in Genshin they've increased the overall amount of pulls, so I don't think they'll balance the economy around free signature LCs. This is a theory way beyond the realm of reality because I'm 100% sure the Chinese community will execute Hoyo first before the rest of the global community even hears about it. This would not just be a smaller scope like Castor's global passive and include a multitude of low spenders. honkaistarrail dropping to 60 to 70 pulls in my opinion is when things will start to become a little alarming, but we're not at that point yet. And unlike the global passive, light cones are very self-contained balance-wise to fit the character they're with and cannot work to every character on an account, at least for now. So long as they don't change the overall income too hard, then these promos can be spammed and still end up being pro-customer. Even if we lose out on 20 pulls per patch, then a 200 pull coupon is still a net positive, with the condition that the coupon can be set to any active limited item. If Hoyo were to do this strategy to get more out of the customer, it would not be subtle at all and we'd instantly notice it. For now, I'd say simply observe what they do next. If they were to drop the patch income but gave more coupons, it only incentivizes more focused spending than pulling every patch willy-nilly. Some people may have problems with that who have a very inconsistent pull strategy, but it is not outright a negative thing and is an outright benefit for those people that have a saving strategy. In the current moment, Archer's LC is pretty low value, that even if you did have 200 pulls, his LC itself would be the last valuable thing you can pull for. It is important to tell people that so they don't feel forced into pulling, and gassing it up as predatory is outright counterintuitive because it's wrong when the reward is still in our favor. Does Archer's LC promo induce FOMO? About as much as a discount at a store will. Can it ruin the game like the global passive? No, because they aren't balancing the income to it just yet, and it's isolated to one character. Again, 90 pulls is very much still in the regular patchly income, not including surprise rewards. It's not worth freaking out about a discount when it is not balanced around our income, and it's certainly not even in the same ballpark as the global passive concept. So, to end this argument, is this predatory? No. Buy 3 get 1s are not predatory. This is a very standard FOMO tactic that is ethically still good for the customers in relation to the usual price. You guys know I'm ready to jump on Hoyo for any stupid and greedy decisions, but this is not one of them. Feel free to shout predatory at a grocery store discount if you don't feel this way. I think the best thing you have to take away from this video is to properly educate people that the LC itself is only a reward for savers, and even then it's a very minimal reward that isn't even worth a third of the pulls for you to get it for free. Not all FOMO is predatory. It can be, but in this case, it very much isn't. Just think of going to a grocery store, right? Go to the center aisle or whichever, and you find a buy one get one discount. Are you gonna get mad at the customers or at the store that people are eating this up, or they are actually doing a promo that is pro-customer? You be the judge. I'm not gonna judge how you live your life. But anyway, that's the entire video. I made this a little too late. This script has been sitting for like 2 weeks or so, and yeah, this situation is just ridiculous to me. It's like people have never went grocery shopping in their lives. I'm pretty sure it's been like more than 200 years that the buy one get one thing has been optimized for consumerism. I don't know, man. I don't know what people think of these days. I'm an unk, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, I'll see you guys later. So go for my membership if you want to see like secret streams, and I'll be making a stream on Monday with the Apocalyptic Shadow, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.